Elon Musk sat down this was like on Twitter Spaces first.
Right, but also on video.
But there was also video for the BBC. So you guys might have seen this initially in just audio format, and then you might have seen the full video. But there's a particular moment from this BBC interview that did not go particularly well for the interviewer with regards to hate speech. Let's take a listen to that.
Content you don't like or hateful? What do you mean to describe a hateful thing?
Yeah, I mean, just content that will solicit a reaction, something that may include something that is slightly racist or slightly sexist, those kinds of things.
So you think if something is slightly sexist, it should be banned?
No,
what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm saying.
Well, I'm just curious. I'm trying to understand what you mean by hateful content, and I'm asking for specific examples. And you just said that if something is slightly sexist, that's hateful content. Does that mean that it should be banned?
Well, you've asked me whether my feed, whether it's got less or more. I'd say it's got slightly more.
That's why I'm asking for examples. Can you name one example?
I honestly don't. Honestly, I
You
don't.
can't name a single example.
I'll tell you why, because I don't actually use that for you feed anymore, because I just don't particularly like it.
You said
actually, a lot of people are quite similar. I only look
hang on a
at my
second. You said you've seen more hateful content, but you can't name a single example, not even one.
I'm not sure I've used that feed for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And
well, then how did you see the hateful content?
Because I've been using Twitter since you've taken it over for the last 6 months.
Okay, so then you must have at some point seen for you hateful content. I'm asking for one example.
Right.
You can't give a single one.
And I'm saying.
Then I say, sir, that you don't know what you're talking about.
Oof. It's honestly hard to watch. That guy messed up so bad when he lied.
Yeah, he lied.
And claimed that, oh yeah, I've been seeing more hateful content in my feed. Like, you didn't have to do that. You could have just, like, if you're gonna make a big claim like that, number one, you need to have some examples.
You need to be like, it's right here. Here's the video,
right,
Elon.
Or like, here's the data from a reputable source. But Elon clearly smells blood. The minute that he says, oh yeah, in my feed, I've seen more hateful content, he's like, oh really? Yeah. Tell me about it.
Good.
But it does, I mean, first of all, so there's a couple other pieces of this interview that we wanna show you, but one of the things that portion underscored for me is that they go after some of the mistakes and flaws of Elon's ownership of Twitter in all the wrong ways. Like, the real critique of Elon's Twitter handling is, first of all, I mean, it's just been like...
It's a chaos.
It's total chaos. Things are breaking. It doesn't work as well. It's full of ads. Like, the user experience is way worse. But then the other thing is, he claimed he was going to run it in this free speech manner, and he just hasn't. I mean, he just banned Substack links and went to war with Matt Taibbi over it. Like, so the idea that he was going to buy this and have this like consistent free speech principled approach, he just has failed at that. And so their inability to prosecute that case leaves them on very weak ground with regard to like what they're actually trying to say here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just no question. And also Glenn Greenwald flagged this. Really what he was doing is he was parroting the report by a place called the Institution for Strategic Dialogue. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. After he was caught lying, he finally pretends he has no view. He's just repeating the claims of ISD Global, which has said that Twitter is more hateful. And, you know, lo and behold, this ISD Global is funded by a bunch of European defense ministries and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Omidyar Group, the Open Society Foundation, the Soros people, like governments and other technology companies, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, YouTube. I mean, this is part of the problem with the disinformation industrial complex, which we'll actually have a whole guest on to talk about today, is just that it's this architecture of like NGOs, non-governmental organizations, which just create these fake statistics, which their mouthpieces in the tech press can use as evidence. Like if you have examples cited in your feed that you can show him, that's one thing. Yeah. But to just say it with no with no evidence and then immediately back down, you just look like a fool. And you are a fool. You are a fool.
Also, I mean, even if he did have like a personal anecdote, that's not really evidence. Yeah, like I could have a personal anecdote of hateful stuff that was in my feed before Elon took over. Yeah. I think it also exposes that a lot of the people who have these, you know, concerns about misinformation and are on the side of more censorship from social media companies, they don't have a deeply formed, coherent view about it. So when Elon's like, so you want anything that's like mildly sexist to be banned? I mean, who's gonna decide that? I think even at one point in the interview, he's like, what, is the BBC gonna decide? Like, who's gonna decide it? And that does kind of get to the, you know, the core issues here. Jack Dorsey had, I thought, a thoughtful post about what he viewed as some of his failings at Twitter and the way he would do things differently. And the core of his argument was vesting these sorts of powers of who gets to say what and what stays up and how you're going to handle all of these genuinely complex free speech issues, it's too much of a responsibility and too much of a burden to put on any one individual. And so the whole setup and construction of these social media companies, where they claim all the power for themselves to be the judge, jury, and executioner, that whole setup is really bankrupt. And you're never going to solve these problems as long as that is the core model of these social media companies. Now, there are some that have experimented with. Mastodon's the only one that I know of that has less of a hierarchical approach. I've never been on Mastodon, so I don't really fully understand it. But there are some sort of experiments out there for how to do this differently. But obviously, the main platforms right now of Twitter and Facebook, et cetera, they all rely on this centralized control, and it ends up being a disaster. And so let me show you another piece here that, in my opinion, is a lot less of a good look for Elon Musk, where he's asked about Twitter banning a BBC documentary that is critical of Narendra Modi. Let's take a listen to that.
We then believe that some of that content was taken off Twitter. Was that at the behest of the Indian government?
I'm not aware of that particular situation.
So you're not sure?
I don't know. I don't know about that. What exactly happened in some content situation in India. The rules in India for what can appear on social media are quite strict, and we can't go beyond the laws of the country.
But do you get that if you do that, you incentivize countries around the world to simply pass more draconian laws?
No. Look, if we have a choice of either our people go to prison or we comply with the laws, we'll comply with the laws. Same goes for the BBC.
So he tries to just play dumb. Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about. Come on. Everybody knows. This has been an ongoing issue.
He obviously knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But actually, that stance is not one that the U.S. government has looked kindly to, or the U.S. public. And often that has been part of the problem, which is that we look at it and we'll be like, we're just complying with local regulation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, okay, well, hold on a second. Your whole thing is about values. And first of all, it's like, so are you saying that you just value business more? If you do, then say that. That's actually fine. But just be honest about what you're doing here.
Well, and that is what he seems to be hinting at, is I just got to follow the local laws. So if the Indian government says it's got to be taken down, then it's got to be taken down.
Right.
But then you think about, okay, so if there's Twitter in Afghanistan, are you going to follow what the Taliban allows on Twitter? If you're in Saudi, are you going to follow what, KSA says is allowed on Twitter? And, maybe the answer seems to be yes, but that is far from the free speech promotion that he sold when he purchased Twitter. That allows, authoritarian regimes to censor in any way that they want. Allows really the U.S. government, if they come in and say, hey, you got to take this down, then hey, it's the local law. They've got the right to do it. Who's to say against them? So I thought that was a much more interesting and revelatory line of questioning there from this journalist. And just to show you, he knows what he's talking about here. This is not some new issue just put on his radar. He had actually responded to a question about this Indian Modi documentary before. Put this up on the screen. So he had gotten a question about it, and he said, it's the first I've heard of it. It's not possible for me to fix every aspect of Twitter worldwide overnight while still running Tesla and SpaceX, among other things. So very defensive here, and sort of uses the same dodge of I had no idea this was going on. Okay, but now you do know what's going on. So what are you going to do about it? Because it is a pretty significant and high-profile example of you taking an action that is at odds with at least the stated principles that you bought the platform with.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.